Good morning. Today we're going to read chapter 9 of Jasmine Toguchi, and this chapter is called The Long Wait. I have my same thinking sheet, I kind of call it a sloppy sheet, from yesterday, and so I just have it out so that I can add some thinking to it. Chapter 9, The Long Wait. The house smelled sweet and the air felt wet. My aunties laughed and chattered in the kitchen. Metal bowls clanked against one another. The woman carried big bowls filled with hot rice from the kitchen out to the backyard. Dad still hadn't come back to tell me how I could help. Mochizuki would start very soon, now that the rice was made. I hopped around the room, full of nerves and energy. Waiting was hard. I played catch with my cousins. They giggled like they were the happiest people on earth. They were definitely the happiest people in this room. Me and Cousin Eddie walked into the living room, brushing his hands off like he'd done something important. He had probably only washed his hands after using the bathroom. At least I hope he washed his hands. I see you're with the babies where you belong, he said. I don't remember to count to 10. In a minute, I'll be outside doing your job for you, I said. Eddie's mouth gaped open like Mom's breakfast sardine. Then he bent over laughing. You wish, he said with a snort. Only men can pound mochi. You're a weakling. When you're 10, you'll be in the kitchen with your sister. The ball popped out of Cassie's hands and rolled over to Eddie. He nudged it toward me with his foot. See ya, Jasmine P. I forgot to count to 10 again. My foot flew out from under me and kicked the ball. Smack! It pounded Eddie in the back. I'm going to pause there for a minute because I want to add a little bit of thinking to mean Cousin Eddie here. And okay, so I'm going to write that a quote, you're with the babies where you belong, to Jasmine. This is just some evidence explaining how Cousin Eddie is mean. So I just want to write that down because I know at the beginning of the book I was thinking about tracking and wondering, is Cousin Eddie going to be mean, and are his actions going to prove that he's mean, or are they going to show something different? To me, this action is evidence that Cousin Eddie is mean, so I'm going to write it down there. I'm also going to write down here that he tells Jasmine only men pound mochi. And then the other thing that kind of popped into my head while I was reading, and I think I'm just going to flip it on the back, are the steps for mochi. And I heard them say first they make the Japanese rice. And I'm wondering, does it have to be a specific rice? Specific mochi rice? Because I know, I'm actually not sure what type of rice my dad and grandma use, because they usually do that bit of it, so I'll have to call and ask. But I'm wondering if it has to be made differently, or is it a different type of rice? So does it have to be a specific mochi rice, or do you prepare it a special way? Okay, so I can come back to those, and then I'm just going to leave the rest of the steps, and I can fill those in as we figure them out. But for now, I'm just going to leave this back on this page. He didn't get a chance to yell at me because Mom beat him to it. Jasmine, Toguchi, what are you doing? Getting the ball for the twins, I said. I leaned over to pick it up. Eddie cocked his head at me with his eyes narrowed. I can kind of see that in the illustration here, and I'm thinking here his eyes narrowed doesn't necessarily mean he's focusing on something, but more so he's making that face like, I'm gonna get you, right? I waited for him to say something mean, but instead he went back outside. Mom nodded at me. Good job, Jasmine. But I wasn't doing a good job. I wasn't doing the job I wanted to do at all. Where was Dad with his answer? Suddenly, I heard the hammer smack against stone. Oh no, Mochisuki had started without me. Okay, so here, the way that they make mochi is that then they pound the rice outside into stone, it sounds like. Okay. I tossed the ball with Cassie and Leo back and forth. I wished and wished Dad would come back in to tell me I could help. But instead of Dad, Uncle Jimmy walked in. Eddie tells me you want to pound mochi, Uncle Jimmy said. My insides puffed up with hope. You know that it's our family tradition for the boys to pound mochi and the girls to roll, Uncle Jimmy said with a kind smile. We've been doing it like this since I was a boy. All the hope leaked out of me. But I know how you feel, Uncle Jimmy said. I'm younger than your dad. I had to wait 3 whole years before I could help. It felt terrible to watch him pound mochi when I couldn't. If he was trying to make me feel better, it wasn't working. I was glad I waited, though, Uncle Jimmy went on, because I don't think I would have been much help. Sometimes waiting makes the thing you're waiting for more special. I had already waited 8 years. That was a long time. And I've been waiting forever for Dad to tell me his answer. Besides, when you're 10, you'll be happy making mochi with your big sister, Uncle Jimmy said. Maybe you can bring the twins outside to watch now? That seemed like the worst idea in the world. Why would I want to watch people doing the thing I most wanted to do? Dad came into my room. So, Jasmine, he said, tell me why you should be allowed to pound mochi. I stood tall. Because I'm a bigger girl than people think. I follow directions, like when Mom tells me to clean my room. I didn't tell Dad about how I didn't do a good job helping Sophie sweep. Dad nodded. And I'm helpful. I'm going to help Mrs. Reese paint her shed. I would definitely do that if it meant I could pound mochi. It's hard work, Jasmine, Uncle Jimmy said. I ran over to Cassie and lifted her up. I'm strong, Leo shouted. Jasmine's super strong. Cassie wiggled and slipped out of my grip and landed with a thunk on the floor. Thankfully, she laughed. Dad and Uncle Jimmy looked at me. Then they looked at each other. Jim, Dad said, maybe it's time to break tradition. Uncle Jimmy nodded. You can pound mochi, Dad said to me. I felt like shouting and jumping. Instead, I wrapped my arms around Dad's legs and squeezed. Thank you. Dad hugged me and said, wow, you really do have strong arms. That made me feel even stronger. This was it. I was getting my wish. All right. So I am going to come back to my front of my page. And over here yesterday, I made a prediction that Jasmine will get to pound the mochi. So I'm just going to go down here and answer. And I'm going to say Dad and Uncle Jimmy said yes. She advocated for herself by telling her dad she was strong, helpful, and followed directions. Okay. So there's my thinking for today, and we will read chapter 10 tomorrow. I'll give you a sneak peek. It's called Breaking the Rules. Have a good day.